Yeah, so at that time, I was doing a lot of commercials and stuff out in New York City. I was auditioning for commercials all the time, or anything I could get my hands on. My pager was going off left and right, and I had become friends with a casting director in Philadelphia. His name was Mike Lemon, and he ran Mike Lemon Casting, and I'd gone in there to do. They called me in to do a photo shoot. They were doing a photo shoot for the Pennsylvania Lottery, and they dressed me up as a football player, and then there was one other guy they dressed up as a chef, with a big tall white hat and everything, and we did 4 hours of photos, and then our photos appeared on the little lottery handouts that you could find laying on any counter in any convenience store across Pennsylvania, so that was a cool little job there, 4 hours, maybe $500, and that's pretty good money back in 1994, and so I really had got the bug to do a lot of commercials and action. I knew if you got a big commercial, it paid a lot of money, especially if you did like a Wendy's commercial or somebody like that. They paid big bucks, really, really big bucks, and so I was hoping one of those were going to come along, but it didn't. Nevertheless, I did a Timex, a commercial for Timex watches, and then one for Asti Spumante wine, and then I was getting a lot of calls on all kind of stuff. Then the movie stuff came along, and Mike Lemon, he called me. He told me, he says, "Hey, he said, well, hey, when I find something that's up your alley, he said, I promise I'll call you." And I said, "Okay," and he did. He called me and said, "Hey, listen, I got a part for you." He says, "Right now it's just for an extra." He said, "But with you, it's a good chance that you can move up." So it was for play a part of a prisoner. I had to go in the prison there in Philadelphia, and we went in there for about 3 days and shot. Now I was on the set and there in the prison, and they came up to me and told me that the director Mika Kaurismäki, he wanted to give me an upgrade to cast member. I'm like, whoa, this is awesome, right? This is great. But then they stopped filming, and I never really knew what the real reason was why they stopped the filming. So before I could get moved up to cast, we weren't filming anymore. So I guess a year or so went by before they said that they changed the name of the movie and all kind of stuff, but they continued filming. But I wasn't in it anymore. I wasn't asked to come back. But what I did do was actually in the movie called Condition Red, and so quite a bit of me in there. You could see me in the background of that movie, right? And so doing a lot of stuff, but I would like to have gotten that upgrade. That would have been cool. But anyway, Mike Lemon, he called me back a while later and said, "Hey, I got something for you. I want you to come in and audition for this role in this movie they're making, Universal Pictures." He said, "It's the role of a guard, like a futuristic prison guard." And he said the movie's called 12 Monkeys, and he said it's going to have got a lot of big actors in it, like Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis, Christopher Plummer, Madeline Stowe, a lot of big actors. And that was just tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of actors in that movie. So he wanted me to audition for the role as a futuristic prison guard. Okay, so I came in and auditioned for it. So he said, "Okay, he'll give you I'll give you a call back if they want you." So about 2 weeks went by, and he called me back and he said, "Hey, I got good news and I got bad news." He said, "Which you want first?" I said, "Well, give me the bad news, okay?" And he said, "Well, the bad news is that you weren't chosen for that role that you auditioned for. They chose somebody else." Okay. I said, "What's the good news?" He said, "Well, the good news is they picked you for something better." He said, "The director out in Hollywood there, Terry Gilliam really liked you, and I want you to come audition for him personally. And he said he's flying out from Los Angeles to Philadelphia and auditioning. People are going to be auditioning because Terry Gilliam liked to hand pick a lot of his actors, right? So I'm like, wow, what an opportunity, right? So, yeah. So I was there on the specified date and time, and I met Terry Gilliam, and he was a really cool dude. And we talked, and he was he was a pretty big wrestling fan, so we talked about wrestling some and stuff. Anyway, I did the audition, and he told me to go ahead and wait outside to get in touch with me in a little bit. So I went outside in the hallway, and I was just standing there, bopping there, waiting for somebody to come out and tell me something, right? And some guy walks down the hallway, and I can't remember his name, sorry, but he said, I'm so-and-so. He said, I'm the second unit director on 12 Monkeys. He says, so you'll be working with me. And I said, oh, well, I said, I don't know if I will or not. I said, I got to find out first if I'm going to get the role, you know. He said, oh, you got the role. I said, I do? He said, yeah, that's why I'm here. I said, well, what? Really? So I was kind of in the dark. I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, they had already knew ahead of time that they wanted me for this role. So that was cool. I mean, that was cool, you know, right? I mean, I'm the new kid on the block. This is my first major motion picture. And so he said, what he told me, he said, yeah, they wanted me to come talk to you and I check you out. He said, because you're going to be working one-on-one with a multi-million-dollar-a-year actor. And he says, we want to make sure, you know, that in this scene, you're going to have a fight scene with him. He said, we want to make sure you don't hurt him. He said, get us all fired. I was like, who? He said, Bruce Willis. And I'm like, you'll be working with him directly. I'm like, what? Holy crap, okay. Awesome, right? So they sent me the script in the mail, FedEx, big old thick script, like a big book. Anyway, I had a scene that talked, but during the movie, they change things all the time when they do stuff like that. And so I didn't have to say anything, but I had to do some screaming and yelling and stuff like that. But yeah, I worked with Bruce. We were in there for like 3 days. And I spent a lot of time waiting, and had my own dressing room. It was cool. It was one of those mobile trailers, and it had 4 dressing rooms in it. And mine had my name on the front door. Korchenko. I'm like, this can't be happening to me, right? This cannot be happening to me. I am in dream world. Yeah, so they would come to my dressing room, you know, the wardrobe. And they would come and they would bring clothes and stuff, and have me put them on, and they fit what they wanted on me, you know. Hey, when it was time for me to go on the set, they would come and escort me from my trailer into this old theater, and we were filming inside this old theater there in Philadelphia, and real old, dilapidated place, all broken down inside, cold in there, drafty. Whoo, man. It's like, hey, so I go in there and introduced me to Bruce. That's the first time I met him. And so he started talking to me and telling me what we were going to be doing. And so he wanted to walk through the scene with me. And so we walked through it several times. I mean, throwing a right hook, hitting him and knocking him down and, you know, kicking him in the ribs. He had a rib protector on underneath his trench coat. So if I did kick him in a shoot kick, I wouldn't break his ribs, but, you know. So I'll give him a wrestler's working kick, right? It looks good, but don't hurt him. And so we did the scene, and it was great. It was a lot of fun working with the guy, and then they, I actually had a gun in that scene, you know, and I was going to shoot the guy and all this, you know. It's a really good scene, you know, and we had the fight, and he kills me. But so when I was all said and done, you know, after we wrapped up shooting there, I was standing in the hallway. I was going to back up a little bit. There was one scene there was one thing where I was wearing this wool cap. It was like an old military cap I had. It really kept my head warm, and and I had taken it off and the steam was sweating. My head was sweating, and the steam was rising up on my head. But then it stopped. Right, I dried up. Well, when it come time to do the scene, Terry Gilliam says, "Hey, Kurchenko, where'd the steam go?" And I said, "Well, it dried up." He said, "Well, can you get some more steam?" And I said, "Yeah." So I went, took off, went running through this theater, and they had some steps I could run up and down these steps several times, and I was huffing. Before I know it, I worked up a heavy sweat. Right, had to put my cap back on. Right, worked up a heavy sweat. Come back, he said, "Let's do it. Let's do it." So we went through the scene, and right before we did the scene where Bruce Willis is down on his knees, and I've got the gun faced at him. He's looking up. He's saying, "Please don't kill me, don't kill me." Right was when I took the cap off, and the steam was coming up off my friggin' head when they filmed the scene. It was awesome. They loved it. They loved it. So yeah. Anyway, so we finished. We wrapped that up, and then when I was standing out in the hallway, and Bruce and his little entourage walked past me, and Bruce stopped and come to me. He says, "Hey, juicy, man, juicy." And that was a compliment coming from that guy, right? He liked my work, and so I was on cloud nine. I here to tell you, I was. So anyway, that is how that came about. How I got, how I got that booking. I'd call it booking, right? Like in the wrestling business, we got booked. Hey, I got booked, But I'd done a lot of stuff prior to that. I'd done a lot of stuff prior to that, and it'd take me forever to tell you all the stuff I'd done. Started out in Colorado Springs, actually, and was going to a little acting class in Colorado Springs. And it was a lot of fun. It was in the wintertime, and it's a lot of good people, and we did a lot of scenes from all kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun, and that's where it started, right there. And we could back up even further and say it started when I was wrestling, because that's where I really learned some methods of acting, walking and talking, and so really I capitalized on professional wrestling to help me, in the artistic work that I got involved in, and print work, and I did a lot of print work. I was in a newspaper in Augusta, Georgia, where they did a thing on bald-headed men, right? And I got picked for that. It was a half page of me on my head with a kiss. They had put a kiss, like a set of lips, right on top of my head, and then they stood up on a ladder and they took the picture of me kind of looking up with his kiss on my forehead, and it was, the whole thing was about bald-headed guy. And then down below was a small picture of actor Jean-Luc Picard, who played captain on Star Trek, not William Shatner, but later, And so I had the big, huge picture, and Jean-Luc Picard had the small picture. So I said, "Hey, I take top billing." But hey, I did stuff like that. I showed up to an audition in Augusta, Georgia, where they were doing Dennis Hopper was making a movie out there, and it was an open audition, right? And I showed up, and I auditioned, but I was standing out there, and there's a lot of people there for auditioning. A lot of people in this room. I'm talking about probably about 300 or 400 people, and somebody pointed me out. Some girl come up to me. She said, "Hey," she says, "you're gonna get a role. I know you are." I said, "Well, I don't know. I hope so." I said, "You done some acting?" She said, "Yeah." She says, "I played the wife of one of the race car drivers in a movie." Dang, that movie slips my mind there. So NASCAR. It was about NASCAR drivers. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, she played the wife in that movie of one of the drivers, and so she was saying, "Yeah, you're gonna get a role. You're gonna get a role," and stuff. I didn't get the role, but it came close. Though they weren't interested. So they did a newspaper article on me. So the reporters were there, and they said, in the article in the newspaper, it says Korsita Korchenko had showed up to the audition, and he stood there in his monolithic build and overlooking everybody in the room, and it was pretty cool. They talked to me about it, and it was pretty cool. It's all kind of little stuff like that, But I did a commercial. I did a promo for CBS Exhibits in Denver. It was called Men, the Weaker Sex, and just me, the leading man, and some girl, the leading lady, and it's just two of us did a promo about men, and I had to do some silly stuff like cut down a lamp in a living room with a chainsaw, and I lost my wallet, and I lifted up the end of the couch, and I'm like, "Where's my wallet?" And kind of goofy stuff like that. That was fun. All that's getting a little experience, getting experience doing stuff like that, and so I mean after I did 12 Monkeys, I got called in to do an audition, and I'm like, I didn't know these people. I'm like, how did you know to call me? In my cell phone, I mean, not my cell phone, we didn't have one, but I had a pager. And I called my pager, and I'm like, how did you know to call me? She said, well, you got recommended for this role. I said, I did. I said, who recommended me? And she said, oh, the second unit director from 12 Monkeys. See, that's how stuff goes around in that business, You do a good job one place, do what they ask you to do, and a lot of times they'll recommend you to do other stuff, and you need to do other stuff. That's how it goes. And so I said, well, okay, so this movie here, she said, yeah, this movie's going to be starring Demi Moore, she told me, and the name of the movie is called Striptease. I'm like, what? Okay. So I did the audition, thought I did it pretty good. They called me a couple weeks later, and he said, sorry. She said, we were very interested. It did come down to you and one other guy. And she said, but the other guy, he was more recognized, established actor, and they decided to go with him. That's the only reason I didn't get that role. Anyway, that's a little bit how all that stuff went, Great time, doing a lot of stuff like that. Been fortunate to do some really cool things, and making a couple of movies. Just awesome. Great stuff. Hey, I thought I'd tell you guys about that stuff. See y'all later.